One day, a mother went to see an elder, distraught about her son, Jack. He was lost and confused, staying out late at night, keeping poor company, and showing increasingly troubling behavior. Each day, the situation grew worse, leaving the mother overwhelmed with anxiety and distress. The elder listened patiently and then said, "Don't say a word, just pray." He continued, "Here's what we'll do. Every evening, between 10 and 10:15, we will both pray for him. Meanwhile, don't confront him. Let him stay out as late as he wants. Don't ask him, 'What time is this to come home?' or 'Where have you been?' Instead, when he returns, simply greet him lovingly and say, 'Come and eat, Jack. There's food in the fridge.' Beyond this, say nothing. Show him love, and don't stop praying." The mother, though hesitant, decided to trust the elder's advice. She began to implement the tactic, meeting her son's late returns with silence and kindness. She prayed fervently every night, as instructed. About 20 days later, Jack approached her with a puzzled expression and asked, "Mother, why don't you speak to me anymore?" Surprised, she replied, "What do you mean, Jack? I do speak to you." "No, you don't. You have something against me, and you're not talking to me," he said accusingly. "What strange idea is this you've got in your head, Jack? Of course, I speak to you. Am I not speaking to you now? What do you want me to say?" Jack didn't respond and walked away, confused and thoughtful. The next day, the mother returned to the monastery to tell the elder about their conversation. "Elder," she asked, "what does this mean? Why did my son say that to me?" The elder smiled knowingly and said, "Our tactic has worked." "Worked? What do you mean?" "The tactic of not speaking and simply praying." Jack has begun to reflect. He wanted you to scold him, to ask him, "Where have you been? What were you doing?" so that he could react, argue, and justify staying out even later. Now that you're not shouting at him, he feels unsettled. You've shifted the balance. Instead of you being upset by his behavior, he's now upset because you aren't reacting. The mother listened intently, amazed. "What strange mysteries these are," she marveled. Some weeks later, Jack announced to his parents that he was quitting his job and moving to Canada. He told his boss to start looking for his replacement. When the parents informed the elder of this decision, the father was furious. "I'll grab him by the scruff of the neck and stop him," he exclaimed. "No," the elder said calmly. "Do nothing. Let him leave if he wants to. Just keep praying and trust that everything will work out." A few days later, on an early Sunday morning, Jack announced, "I'm heading out with my friends today." "Fine," his parents said without protest. "Do as you like." Jack left with his group of friends, 2 boys and 2 girls, and rented a car. They drove around aimlessly, visiting different places, swimming at the beach, eating, and drinking. By nightfall, they began their journey home. Jack, who was driving, lost control of the car, and it slammed into a pole. Although the car was badly damaged, the group managed to drive it back home at a crawling pace. No one was hurt, but the accident shook them. Jack arrived home in the early hours of the morning. His parents said nothing, and he went to bed. The next day, he approached his father and said, "The car's wrecked. It's going to cost a lot to fix." His father replied calmly, "Well, Jack, you'll have to figure out a solution yourself. I have debts to pay and your sisters to take care of." Jack was stunned. "What can I do, father? Whatever you think best. You're an adult. Use your brain." Jack sighed and left. He went to his boss and said, "I've had an accident with a car. I'm not leaving anymore, so don't hire anyone else." "That's fine by me," his boss said. Jack added, "But I'll need an advance on my pay." The boss hesitated. "You wanted to quit. If you need money, your father will have to co-sign." Jack replied, "I'll sign for it myself. My father told me to handle this on my own. I'll work hard and repay it." When the mother returned to the elder with the news, he smiled. The accident was a blessing. God has heard our prayers. Jack has taken responsibility and decided to stay. This is the beginning of his transformation. Indeed, Jack began to change. He became more responsible, worked diligently, and even sought out the elder himself for guidance. Over time, he grew into a fine young man, joined the Air Force, and later married, building a loving family. The elder concluded, "A child needs to be surrounded by people who pray ardently. A mother's physical care is important, but her spiritual care is what nurtures a child's soul. A child feels the embrace of prayer and draws strength from it. Words can wound, but prayer reaches the heart. A calm, prayerful example is far more powerful than anxiety or criticism. Prayer and love can transform lives, even in the most difficult circumstances.